Pranam. Through this video, I am going to discuss about algorithmic or mathematical cooking as elaborated in Vedic literature and through it the concept of Ayurveda or Ayurvedic cooking. I know this video is a bit long, around 30 minutes, but I assure you that I have tried to cover this topic in as less minimal time as possible. So I request you to watch the video till the end and not skip any parts to get a grasp of the subject. What do we mean by Ayurvedic cooking? Is the term Ayurvedic cooking even valid? We may naturally ascertain Ayurvedic cooking as recipes mentioned in Ayurveda literature or food patterns related to health, dietetics on individual level, or food culture related to school of thought that endorses vegetarianism, ahimsa, spiritual aspects like sattvic, tamasic and rajasic, or ritualistic food preparations which include mantra, astronomy, astrology, etc. In modern nutrition science, we approach food as distinct with respect to health and culinary art. Hence, it is very logical for many to look at cooking mentioned in Ayurveda as a part of health nutrition science. However, one must understand that Ayurveda is not a mere collection of ancient medical treatises. The term Ayurveda is derived from two words, Ayus, which means life, and Ved. The term Ved itself is composed of the root Vid, which means knowledge, with the suffix or pratyaya dhaya, which means bhava or emote. So Ved means bhava or emote of knowledge, which means jnana or to know. The term to know encompasses all forms of knowledge that is known, in process of knowing, or to be known across cosmos. I have made a detailed video on origin and concept of Ved. Viewers may refer to it if interested. So we can interpret that Ayus plus Ved means to know about life, or to be specific, it encompasses all cosmic fundamentals that are known, in process of knowing, and to be known about life, which in this context refers to human life. The book or treatise of Ayurveda are mere compilation of these concepts in a structured form. Vedic knowledge consists of core fundamentals without any prejudice. It neither castigates anything as evil or good on a cosmic scale. Hence, in order to understand the meaning of the term Ayurvedic cooking or Ayurvedic cooking, we must first try and understand fundamental concepts regarding food and subsequently cooking through Vedic perspectives. Food and cooking food are distinct, though inclusive. Food is an entity, cooking is a tool to produce the same. Let us first try to understand how food is defined in Veda. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, we come across a word, anna. It is derived from the root ad. The root ad is defined as bhokta anna, which means that which is eaten. In Shatpat Brahman of Shukla Yajurveda, we come across a term, annam asitihi. The term asitihi is first found in Samveda. It has many meanings in the context it is used. But for us, two meanings are prominent. To obtain as per the Jaimaniya Brahman, and other is that which is edible. So in the context, annam asitihi means anna is an edible entity through which life is obtained. Amar Kosh also gives the explanation of the term anna as adate smaha ta annana, which translates as whatever is edible is food. So food as per Veda is interpreted as any entity that is edible to sustain life. It does not castigate food on religious or spiritual grounds on cosmic levels. The process of cooking is known as Paka. The etymology of the word Paka is derived from the dhatu pacha, which means transformation facilitated by heat. Paka denotes the process through which an end product is created through heat, as defined as pachyate iti paka. It necessarily does not mean cooking over fire, like an unripe mango getting ripened. Here there is no cooking, yet the transformation is facilitated through heat. In terms of culinary art, Paka is associated to the process of cooking. Throughout the available Sanskrit literature, we find various references of food, culinary art, and dietetics. Some works of importance are the Vedas. the Samhita literature like the Taittiriya Samhita, Vajaseniya Samhita, the Brahman literature like the Shatpat Brahman, Taittiriya Brahman, the Aranyak literature like the Taittiriya Aranyak, the Upanishads, the Sutra literature, the Nirukta, the grammar or Vyakaran text of Mahabhashya, Vartika, Ashtadhyayi, works like Arthashastra, Manusmriti, Kama Sutra, the epics consisting of Mahabharata and Ramayana, Ayurveda Sahitas and Nigantu literature, Natya literature of Raghuvansham, Kumar Sambhavam, etc. Puranic works like the Agni Puran, Vayu Puran, Matsya Puran, works on culinary art like Manas Ullasa, and finally the text on cookery of Shema Kutuhal, Bhojan Kutuhal and Paka Darpan. We can however divide this exhaustive food literature in following constructs. Literature elaborating on ideal methods of cooking known as Paka Shastra. Literature elaborating on properties of food either individual or as a recipe and its effects on doshas with respect to humans. Literature elaborating on proper method of intake of food with respect to seasons, daily timings, utensils, rituals known as Annapana vidhi. Literature elaborating on the type of food, individual or in combinations, with respect to disorders and general health known as Pathya Apathya. Though all these constructs are inclusive, we can again divide them into two distinct classes. Fundamentals of cooking. This literature elaborates strictly to base algorithms of art of cooking to derive an end product which is edible. Its basic parameter is heat. These fundamentals are independent of the other class of literature which expounds upon the human perception of dietetics with respect to environment, health, religion and philosophy. The expanse of Ayurvedic dietetics is immense and beyond scope of this video. However, as it is related to our subject, I will try and give a quick overview so as to grasp why the algorithmic foundations of Vedic cooking are so important. The vast literature describes each food entity on fundamentals of its geographical attributes or desh, which elaborates on the environmental factors of each entity. 5 elemental or structural attributes of Mahabhut. 20 universal properties or guna. 6 universal tastes or rasa it contains which are identified by us humans. These act as biochemical messengers informing the body the nature and amount of enzymes to secrete for digestion. 2 universal potencies or virya which relate to the nature of homogeneous digestive juice it creates in process and as result of digestion. 3 vipaka of final biochemical response as seen in human body post digestion of the entity food as it goes towards absorption, assimilation and excretion. Prabhava, which is an effect a particular entity exhibits irrespective of its properties. The vast literature furthers its inferences of the effect of these entities on 3 doshas, dhatus or tissue system, and malas or excretion at macro and micro level, or in brief, on the annals of human physiology in terms of absorption, assimilation, excretion, and nourishment post-consumption of these food entities, either alone or in combination as recipes. The literature suggests optimum times to eat foods. Same food can cause different effects on the body at different times. For example, curd consumption is considered unhealthy at night. It informs about optimum quantities or frequencies of individual foods. Certain foods must be used daily like milk and ghee, while certain must be used occasionally like jackfruit. It elaborates on use of utensils for cooking and eating. For example, in the Yajnavalkya Smriti, it is mentioned that one who eats food in bronze vessel gains longevity, intellect, success and strength. Similarly, the Brahma Vaivarta Puran informs that water, cow's milk, curd, ghee, coconut water, jaggery, honey stored in an iron vessel and rice cooked in an iron vessel should not be eaten. It elaborates on various food combinations to be used in particular disorders and also combination of foods to be avoided to maintain health. For example, mixture of curd and jaggery is considered incompatible. It elaborates on seasonal foods and their effects. For example, mangoes must be consumed in its season, while its consumption out of season may cause disorders. It elaborates on astronomical implication of dietetics. For example, the Brahma Vaivarta Puran informs to avoid consumption of sesame on new moon or Amavasya, full moon or Purnima, and few other occasions like Sankranti, Chaturdashi, Ashtami, Shraddha, and Vrata. It elaborates on rules of dining procedures and also dress codes, along with certain anointments to get maximum benefit. Certain texts also discuss the inherent qualities of the chef, structure of kitchens, and sanitation. These literature also discusses the spiritual and religious perspectives of food like Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic, and elaborates on why certain foods must be avoided and certain accepted for emancipation or moksha. Though certain instructions may vary across texts, one can infer that this literature is vast and has infinite possibilities, with evolution of culinary art, technology, and change in socio, political, and economical status of humans, though base fundamentals remain same as Veda. The Ayurveda Sahitas, Nigantus, generally discuss the properties of different types of edible food and their method of intake for optimum health as per seasons, eating times, food combinations, and utensils in respect to human physiology in terms of dosh, dhatu, and mal. The authoritative works like Shem Kutuhal, Bhojan Kutuhal, Paka Darpan can be considered as text on cookery and dietetics. The work Manas Ullasa is considered the first ever work on culinary art. Pathya Apathya Vinishya elaborates on optimum diet for health and disorders, much on lines of Ayurveda treatise, but in an elaborate way. Although these works focus on culinary art and dietetics, they are restricted to their application towards a purpose, which is human health, along with religious and spiritual perception. They do not give a fundamental algorithmic approach to cooking as is indicative of any Vedic knowledge. The fundamental elaboration on cooking or Paka Shastra is found in the most algorithmic literature of Veda, the Vyakaran or grammar text of Ashtadhyayi of Panini, Vartika of Katyayan, and Mahabhashya of Patanjali. The Vartika and Mahabhashya are elaboration and commentary on the Ashtadhyayi. Hence, these three are also known as Three Muni Vyakarana. The Ashtadhyayi of Panini is major contributor towards understanding the algorithms of Vedic cooking, which is further elaborated upon by Patanjali in his Mahabhashya or commentary on Panini's work. We come across some fundamental terms that outline the structure of cooking. Bhojya and Bhakshya. Though synonymous, there are etymological differences about the nature of Bhojya and Bhakshya in the Trimuni Vyakarana. It can be defined as the entity that needs to be consumed. The difference of opinion about these two terms lies in the structure of the entity to be consumed. For example, the entity which is solid in nature is known as Bhakshya, while one which is other than solid is termed as Bhojya, as described by Katyayana. On similar lines, the epic Mahabharata has defined the nature of food to be of 5 types in a way it can be consumed: Bhakshya or solids, Lehya or one which can be licked, Chusya or one which are sucked, Peya or liquids, and Bhojya which encompasses all the other forms of food which are not covered by the other 4 categories. Mishrikaran. Mishrikaran means when a food entity is mixed with some other entity. For example, we add ghee or oil for cooking or jaggery for taste. Here both entities have equal importance, which determines the end profile of the recipe. Most times the entity mixed with food is an adjuvant to its profile. Sanshrusta. It refers to entities that are mixed before cooking and they become one and homogeneous in the recipe. The process of Mishrikaran and Sanshrusta is similar. The only difference that in Mishrikaran the entities mixed have their individual existence and importance, but in Sanshrusta the one which is mixed is of less importance. The word which can be synonymous to Sanshrusta is Sansarga, which can be loosely translated here as blend. For example, salt. Salt is always added before cooking. So when it exposes to heat, it becomes homogeneous. Here one must understand that salt refers to the taste known as lavan and not the entity. Many entities produce salty taste or lavan. So as per Katyayan, what blends as Sanshrusta is the taste, while as per Panini, what adds as entity is the lavan or the salt. These etymological differences lie at the core fundamentals of Vedic cooking. Hence the entities which are blended before cooking and become homogeneous part of the end recipe are identified by Sanshrusta. The same salt when added while cooking or after cooking is form of Sanskrita. The process to enhance the taste profile of a recipe is known as Sanskrita. For example, adding of spices. Certain spices are added during cooking and certain after cooking. If these spices are added before cooking, they disturb the profile of recipe. These subtleties are important construct of Vedic cooking. In addition, Sanskrit also gives algorithmic parameters of heat. Distribution of heat in cooking is of paramount importance. For example, certain preparations are done on charcoal, some in a particular type of utensils. All these things that enhance the profile of the food is referred to by Sanskrit, which one may infer as being the important pillar of culinary art. The term Sanskrit Bhakshya or the sutra Sataha Utkarshadhanam Samskara informs specifically that Sanskrit illuminates the recipe towards optimum taste profile. Vyanjana. Vyanjana means one that illuminates. In this context, it refers to that recipe or entity which makes the mind aware of the true taste profile of food. For example, when we eat sweets, our tongue gets coated with a layer. Hence, suppose that whatever we eat, we are unable to get its taste. Vyanjan refers to that preparation which removes this obstruction and makes the senses available for taste. For example, when we go in a shop to buy perfumes, we intermittently smell coffee beans to get exact profile of each perfume. Here coffee beans act as a Vyanjan. Though not essential, Vyanjan helps the end user appreciate each recipe on its individual parameters. It can be of extreme importance to a chef who displays his or her skills with respect to multiple preparations of different taste profiles. Many times scholars use Vyanjan and Mishrikaran as synonymous, but there is a difference. Mishrikaran most times is done prior to cooking or exposure to heat to enhance the recipe. Vyanjan is created separate. Mishrikaran is subject to individual taste and profile. For example, some may like food cooked in ghee or oil. Vyanjan is specifically garnered towards maintaining the individual taste profile. It helps the person be aware of the taste of each recipe. So Mishrikaran is not essential. One can eat raw food. But Vyanjan is essential to understand taste of different foods or sometimes the same food if its taste profile gets overwhelming. For example, when we eat something extremely spicy, we balance the tongue with curd or yogurt to keep eating the spicy food and maintain the taste profile. Though there are some other sub-parameters mentioned like Upasikta, which contribute to the art of cooking, they are inclusive in the 5 distinct parameters explained. Of these 5 parameters, the first 4 elaborate the mathematical dynamics of culinary art with respect to heat and blending, while with the addition of the 5th parameter of Vyanjan, the entire experience of eating produces an optimum effect on the 5 human senses of taste, touch, aroma, sound, and vision. Because only through them the notion of food is defined as acceptable or not. Certain foods may look good but taste awful. Certain may smell bad but may produce a health effect. These 5 parameters, if known correctly, one can create an optimum sense profile for food. Food being eaten by a variety of humans, the culinary art needs to be altered depending on the individual's religious, health, environmental and personal sense associations. Though there are innumerable individual preferences, Patanjali divides them into 3 fundamental categories: Amad, Annad and Kravyat. Amad are those people who eat food raw without cooking, especially vegetables. Annad are those people who consume food after cooking, mostly vegetarians. Gravyad include all those who eat meat, animal and sea products, either cooked or raw. They may or may not eat vegetables. So let us try and understand this with an example as to what fundamentals of cooking mean. So the first parameter is Bhojya and Bhakshya. These include all entities edible. We can generalize following distinct types of food entities which form the nature of the 5 types they can be consumed in the way they are prepared. We can enumerate all these human edible entities as food grains, spices, sweets, oil and oilseeds, vegetables and fruits, intoxicating drinks, dairy products, meat, seafood and salt. This list can be again classified into 3 distinct categories: Vanaspati Varga or plant kingdom, Mouse Varga or animal kingdom, and salt as taste. Let us see how we can apply these 4 fundamentals on most basic to most complex of recipes. Let us take the example of meat. Meat can be eaten raw, but Paka makes it easily acceptable for the senses. So the simplest form is to roast on fire as ancient humans did. The modern day barbecue can be a good example. Mishrikaran, to enhance its digestibility or to alter its palatability so it becomes more appreciable to the 5 senses, we can add either water or oil or ghee or curd to the meat. This is not a required process and depends entirely on the end user. Meat cooked in wine or addition of sauces is an example. Sanshrusta. The best example here is salt. We can either apply salt to the meat before cooking or mix it in the Mishrikaran base of water or oil. Sanskrit. Further, if we have access to spices, aromatics, special ovens or utensils that can distribute heat or control heat evenly, we can get more explorative and create many recipes from meat that taste good, look good, smell good and make the food more invigorating and acceptable. Vyanjana. Most times recipes are not eaten alone, but we eat multiple food items like soup, rice, sweets, etc. in a meal. To maintain individual taste profile of each recipe, we must have a neutralizer. This could be a beverage, a herb, or spice mixture. There is a reason why I took meat as an example because it helps me elaborate on dietetics or Annapana vidhi. The recipe of meat, which is prepared by these 4 base fundamentals, is devoid of how it is perceived on religious, spiritual, and health constructs. For example, meat preparations are not acceptable in certain school of thoughts, religion, and traditions. These physiological and philosophical applications of Annapana vidhi or dietetics are completely distinct from the algorithmic elaborations of Paka shastra. In a nutshell, Paka shastra forms the blueprint of world culinary art that makes any entity edible with increasing layers of refinement. Hence, they lie at the base of all forms of culinary preparations. Any recipe in 5 fundamental structural forms as consumed by humans of Bhojya, Bhakshya, Chusya, Lehya, Paya, ever created, is being created or will be created, can be decoded on these fundamental levels. These fundamentals, if understood well, can describe exotic culinary recipes of the past like colonial recipes, the prevalent recipes of fast food, gastronomic and artisan cooking, and the evolving recipes of the future like molecular cooking, solar foods, and even recipes created by artificial intelligence. Knowing these parameters of Vedic cooking, a chef may understand why his or her recipe may be appealing or non-appealing to a group of people, why the recipe may taste different each time, and how exactly a recipe may taste after watching someone else prepare it. It will help them improve and refine their skills in all forms of world cuisine. In summary, Pak Shastra helps us reconstruct food and acceptability on a subconscious level because the idea of food is subconscious. A recipe which may be appealing to one's senses may be repulsive to others depending on various factors of social, moral, religious, physical and spiritual conundrums. These states can change with experience. A meat lover may turn vegan and hate the very recipe he could not live without. Park Shastra and human neural association to food is a huge topic, and further elaborations is beyond the scope of this video. Moving ahead, using these fundamentals of cooking or Park Shastra, Ved, Ayurveda and subsequent Sanskrit texts have created recipes taking in account the physiological, structural and geographical properties of individual food items. They have laid rules on their optimum consumption with respect to time, season and astronomy. They have elaborated about food combinations, methods of eating. They have elaborated on their spiritual, religious, environmental and health perspectives, and have also elaborated on kitchen architecture, qualities of chef and sanitation. This entire profile called Annapana vidhi is a huge topic beyond the scope of this video, as it requires pinpoint elaboration on the foundation of the school of thought it is laid upon. For example, a recipe suggested for a disorder in Ayurvedic text may not be accepted in religious paradigms. To increase muscle, many Ayurvedic texts consider meat broth to be optimum, but this suggestion may not be acceptable to vegetarians, for whom an alternate recipe may be envisioned depending on their preferences. Similarly, certain recipes that include garlic as optimum for a disorder may not be accepted in certain religions or sattvic method of cooking where garlic is prohibited. So as an inference, we can say that the term Ayurvedic cooking or Ayurvedic cooking is non-indicative and bears no validity as a culinary form. There is no distinct form as Ayurveda or Ayurvedic cooking. Ayurveda being an all-encompassing, timeless, limitless knowledge of human life, it has laid down fundamental principles about food, either individual or as a recipe, with respect to its geographical, structural and physiological parameters, and have reflected upon their effects on humans post-consumption in terms of health, disease, longevity and ultimately spiritual upliftment, depending on various schools of philosophies and traditions. So in a nutshell, the term Ayurveda or Ayurvedic cooking can be defined as understanding the fundamental art of cooking or the blueprint of culinary art known as Paka Shastra, and the implementation of the blueprint towards dietetics on parameters of Ayurvedic physiology for health, longevity and ultimately spiritual upliftment. I am aware that a lot of viewers may have wanted more elaboration on recipes, dietetics and health, while others may have wanted to dig deep into algorithmic cooking. This subject is so vast that it may require an entire separate video series to elaborate on Vedic cooking. I am sure there are amazing videos out there on these subjects, and I request the viewers that after understanding the concept of Vedic algorithmic cooking, they watch those videos with a fresh perspective. I would also like to take this opportunity to inform my viewers that all videos of NLAM are solely created by me without any funding and support. So I am pretty aware that these videos might contain mistakes in terms of grammar, pronunciation and transliteration with respect to Vedic studies. I assure you these mistakes are not intentional and I apologize for the same. I hope this video was informative and made the subject clear. Thank you for watching. Pranam.